So there's been some increased talk this week about the Dallas Cowboys potentially being trade deadline buyers as we approach the October 31st NFL trade deadline. It came out from Ralph Vacciano from Fox Sports, who said that's why multiple NFL sources said they believe the Cowboys will be among the most active teams in advance of the October 31st league-wide trading deadline. So right now, if you look at the state of the Dallas Cowboys, they're sitting at 4-2. They have a very good offense, a very good defense, both ranked 6th in the NFL, so clearly they're doing something right. But I think the issue that has plagued the Cowboys this year and has also plagued them in years past is just the inconsistency you see. Because we all know, we see the Cowboys have that success throughout the season. They stack those wins. They, win 10-plus games, make the playoffs. And then it's always when they reach the playoffs that they're unable to find that success that they found all season long. And so if you're Jerry Jones looking at this roster, you don't want to repeat that same mistake, and I think the only way that you can really prepare for that and build this team in a way where you think you give yourself the best chance possible is to go and be a buyer at the trade deadline. And Jerry Jones is an owner who he doesn't care what's going on. He'll go and he'll make some big splashy moves. And so I think when you look at the current receivers the Cowboys have, you have CeeDee Lamb, who's played really, really well, one of the better receivers in the NFL. But outside of him, Brandon Cooks, who the Cowboys traded for, and then Michael Gallup, who recently came off his torn ACL a few years back. Both of those guys have not played well, and I think that if there's any area of this Cowboys roster that could really use a new player, a new talented player, it would be the receiver room. Because yes, right now the Cowboys have the 6th best offense in the NFL. Dak Prescott, he's played pretty well overall. 6th best turnover-worthy play rate in the NFL. So he's not really, even though his touchdown interception ratio, which I believe is around 6-4 currently, he has the 6th best turnover-worthy play rate in the NFL per PFF. The one area where the Cowboys offense is struggling is that average depth of target. They're not really pushing the ball down the field that much, and even watching that game, Cowboys versus Chargers, it felt like the only time that Dak was pushing the ball down the field was when he was targeting CeeDee Lamb. And so I think that if you want to get to the playoffs and you want to have some kind of confidence that when you face off against a solid team like the 49ers, like the Philadelphia Eagles, teams whose offenses will likely put up lots of points, even though the Cowboys have a pretty good defense, if you want to be able to compete with those teams, you need to have more weapons on offense, in my opinion. Tony Pollard is great. CeeDee Lamb is great. But Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup just have not really done too much to really convince me that it gives the Cowboys enough firepower on offense to compete with teams like the Niners, who have, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, the Eagles with Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. And so if I'm the Cowboys, I think there's a few different receivers who could make sense. A few guys who could potentially be on the market. You got Jerry Jeudy in Denver. I think he's been the guy that I've probably seen the most talked about when it comes to receiver options. The Broncos have been terrible. Jerry Jeudy, I think, hasn't quite lived up to expectations many had from him being a first-round pick, and I think that maybe getting new scenery, coming to Dallas, he could be a upgrade there. If you look at Jerry Jeudy, since 2022, he is the 6th in yards after catch per reception. And one other factor, if you look at his 5th-year option, which the Broncos exercised, he'll be only $12.9 million in 2024. So you get a fast, speedy, young receiver who I think would be an upgrade to Brandon Cooks in the slot. And, if things work out with Jerry Jeudy in Dallas, you have another weapon there, you have another speedster. Maybe you decide to keep him around for the long haul if things work out. The question is, what would the draft capital be? Maybe you have to give a first-round pick. I wouldn't do that. I think you could get him for a second-round pick personally. And I think that if you're the Cowboys and, you have such a solid team right now overall, I think taking a risk like this makes sense. Another guy, Courtland Sutton, on the same team. They're different kind of receivers. Sutton mainly plays on the outside. Sutton so far this year, 25 receptions, 275 yards. He's more that big-bodied, contested catch wide receiver at 6'4". And if you compare Sutton's catch rate when he's targeted 71% to Michael Gallup is around 56%. And so I think that if you took Sutton, you put him in over Michael Gallup, I think that you give Dak a much more reliable receiver in Courtland Sutton. So I think either of those guys, you could put Jeudy in the slot, put Sutton outside. Obviously not trading for both of them, but either of those guys I think would be an upgrade to what you currently have. And then the third guy that I think is, I'd say, less likely to happen, but still you never know in the NFL. Crazy things happen all the time. Like back in the day, I did not think Tyreek Hill was going to get traded away from the Kansas City Chiefs. And one guy that I made a video on a few weeks ago is Devontae Adams, where if you look at the Raiders, you look at the fact that they're struggling. They've been okay the past couple games, but still, I don't think this is a very, a top 10, top 15 team in the NFL. Nowhere near that. And you look at Davante Adams, who I think is still one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's getting up there in age. I wouldn't be surprised if he himself wanted to be traded. Would the Raiders trade him away? Potentially. They could get some more draft capital, use that to maybe move up in the draft a QB next season, because I don't think Jimmy G is the long-term answer for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I just feel like trading for Davante Adams is a Jerry Jones kind of move. Obviously, I think that would be, you probably have to give away at least a first-round pick, maybe even more. He is a little bit older, so because of that, maybe you can pay a little bit less than you would have had to in years past. Like the Packers had to trade away or got a first and second round pick for Davante a few years back. The question is, could they fit that on their salary cap? I'm not sure. And it's a big move for the Cowboys if they could get away with that. But I just think when you look at Dak, there's lots of talk going around right now with Dak, as it feels like there always is. Is he an elite caliber quarterback? He has, the issues when it comes to, making it happen in the playoffs. But I think that if you want to have confidence in the Cowboys come in playoff time, you got to give Dak another receiver weapon. I don't think just CeeDee Lamb is going to cut it. And if you look at the rest of this team, I really don't think there's that many other areas where, it's as important to make a move. I've seen many talk about cornerback with Trayvon Diggs going down. But in Trayvon Diggs, with him going down, Darren Bland played really well. Right now, he's a 14th graded corner in the NFL per PFF, and he's only allowed a passer rating of 22.7. So I don't think trading for a corner is necessarily important. Another area where you could move, if you look at slot corner, Jordan Lewis, 136.9 passer rating allowed when targeted. You could upgrade there. And then, of course, Vander Esch, linebacker, out till at least week 11. Maybe you make a move at linebacker. But so far, I think for the Cowboys, in my mind, receiver, biggest need right now. I just don't think what they have right now is going to cut it come playoff time. And I feel like with the Cowboys, they're a team that for years has had regular season success. And if you want to have this team go far in the playoffs, I think you're going to need to see an upgrade on offense. The final thing I'll touch on is the Cowboys offensive line. Dak has definitely faced lots of pressure this season. Currently, the Cowboys have the 15th ranked offensive line when it comes to ESPN's pass block win rate. They've had so many different injuries. They haven't really gotten to have a consistent offensive line, and I think that, as these guys are fully back and healthy, hopefully the Cowboys can see that kind of improved play from the offensive line. But it wouldn't be crazy to see them make a move there just in case they do suffer any more injuries. But if you would like more NFL content like this, I make multiple videos throughout the week, so feel free to subscribe down below.